Yo, what's going on, guys? My name is Alex, and these are my X Factors for every team in the Western Conference. X Factors for me will include multiple players and even star players, so not just role players or borderline all-stars. These factors have the potential to make their teams better overall and could lead them to more wins throughout the season. With that out of the way, let's start off with the Phoenix Suns, and for me, their X Factor is DeAndre Ayton. After an offseason of uncertainty of whether he was going to return to the Suns or not, Ayton comes into next season as an important piece for the Suns. Now, he's always been an important piece, but with CP3 getting older and Crowder eventually leaving, Ayton will need to step it up even more as an offensive weapon. Now, some of this may be out of his control because Ayton at this point of his career hasn't really been utilized as effectively as he probably should. If this could happen, the Suns could bounce back from their second round exit against the Mavs and have another incredible season. Next up, we have the Houston Rockets, and for me, their X Factor is Alperen Sengun. Rockets have great young talent on their roster, like Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr., and newly drafted Jabari Smith Jr. and Tari Eason. But one player that I think has great upside for them is Sengun. As just a rookie, he is one of the best post players in the league, being able to fake defenders out of their shoes to score. His passing ability out of the post and playmaking in general is also something to marvel at, and is something that the Rockets should really lean into more next season. The Rockets will probably still be a lottery team, but Sengun could potentially make a jump so huge that they are a potential play-in team. Up next, we have the Memphis Grizzlies, and for me, their X Factor is Dillon Brooks. Dillon Brooks already has to be one of the most wildcard players in the league. His confidence is an all-time high, which is great for a player like him who can be a hard-nosed defender, but sometimes this actually hurts him in terms of the shots he actually takes. Brooks will have to control this, in my opinion, to really make a strong impact on the Grizzlies next season, because this hurt him in the playoffs, and there were times where Kyle Anderson was actually the better option at the 3 spot. Anderson isn't on the Grizzlies anymore, he's on the T-Wolves, so Dillon will most likely see some more playing time, so he has to take advantage. Next up, we have the Sacramento Kings, and for me, their X Factor is Keegan Murray. The duo of Fox and Sabonis proved to be a serious offensive force last season, but with no other upside players besides newly drafted Keegan Murray, it will be interesting to see how he could potentially improve the Kings. As a big forward, he could potentially be a versatile defender for a team that desperately needs it, but what is certain is his fit offensively. Murray is a good shooter who can shoot off the screens, shoot off the dribble, and even put the ball on the floor and pump fake and drive it to the hoop. Murray will have 2 great playmakers in Fox and Sabonis next to him to make things easy for him on offense, so if Murray could step up defensively, I think the Kings could potentially be a play-in team. Up next, we have the Dallas Mavericks, and for me, Christian Wood is their X Factor. Christian Wood has a lot of shoes to fill as the Mavs lost Brunson to the Knicks, so he will now most likely be their second option. He has proven to be a good scoring big, but just not on the greatest of teams. Luka is also a guy who has to have the ball in his hands almost every play, so Wood will have to adapt to this as well. Wood also isn't the greatest defender either, but hopefully him joining a Mavs team that was top 5 defense last season could potentially hide him in a way. If Wood can continue to be an offensive weapon and adapt to playing next to a star like Luka, he could potentially help the Mavs capitalize on last season. Up next, we have the OKC Thunder, and for me, their X Factor is Josh Giddey. After a great rookie season, Giddey is going to have even more chances to improve. Chet is out for the season with a foot injury, and Shea is also going to miss some time as well. This is where Giddey can show what he's improved on, which I hopefully think is his 3-point shooting, because he wasn't the greatest 3-point shooter last season. Giddey could improve to a point where the Thunder can quote-unquote stay afloat, but either way, they will lose a lot of games, which I think the Thunder are fine with, but Giddey could be a reason why they win some games they probably shouldn't. Now at the halfway mark, we have the Trailblazers, and for me, their X Factor is Anthony Simons. Simons was fantastic when Dame was out last season, but with Dame coming back and Jeremy Grant joining the team, Simons could see his role take a slight step back. However, he will still be a vital part in how well the Blazers play. There aren't many reliable scoring options on this Blazers team, so Simons will have to produce like he did last season, even if he plays slightly less. Without his scoring, the Blazers could have another miserable year. Up next, we have the defending champs, the Golden State Warriors, and for me, their X Factor is James Wiseman. The defending champs aren't really missing anything on this team, even with newly acquired bench pieces like Dante DiVincenzo, but a player we really haven't seen much from is James Wiseman. His rookie season was cut short due to an knee injury, but with him returning, he could be a great bench big for them. This could relieve Kevon Looney and even Draymond Green of playing big minutes, especially during the regular season, and even in the small sample size that he did play, Wiseman looked great and seemed to fit in well as a rim roller and a potential rim protector. The Warriors are still finals contenders without Wiseman, but his return could definitely put them over the top if he can stay healthy. Up next, we have the LA Lakers, and for me, this is a pretty obvious one. Their X factor is Russell Westbrook. We all know that Anthony Davis and LeBron are going to be a good fit together, but outside of that, the Lakers don't really have anything worth mentioning. That's why Westbrook has to find a way to coexist on this team. We are all aware of his flaws, so if he's able to somehow be a better catch-and-shoot player, the Lakers could improve from last season. How much they improve? Well, that's another question that I'm not too sure I can answer right now. Hopefully with a coaching change, this can happen, but to be honest, I'm not too optimistic about the Lakers at all, which just may be another topic that I talk about in another video. Up next, we have the Utah Jazz, and for me, their X factor is Colin Sexton. The Jazz are looking to tank for Victor Wembanyama, but one thing that is good is Sexton will be on this team now. However, he is coming back from a torn meniscus injury, so we'll have to see how he comes back. The season before his injury, he was averaging 24 points per game, so if the Jazz get that from Sexton, he could be a huge bright spot in the Jazz rebuild. Up next, we have the Denver Nuggets, and for me, their X factor is Bones Hyland. With Monte Morris now on the Wizards, Bones is taking over the backup guard position, and he has some shoes to fill. Monte wasn't the scorer like Bones is, but he was a good defender and a no-nonsense point guard who rarely turned the ball over. Hyland is still very young, so with more power in the offense, he could have to adjust some, but the ceiling of the Nuggets bench definitely rises when a young guard can get more of a green light like Bones Hyland will. Up next, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves, and for me, their X factor isn't just one player, but it's two, and it's generally the fit of Gobert and Towns. I feel like the fit between these two big men are way more important than what one player can bring to the table. Both of these players help each other's weaknesses, so in a sense, it should mesh well, but those weaknesses still exist. Putting Cat at the power forward position, it will be interesting to see if he will be able to guard smaller players, and it will also be interesting to see if Gobert come playoff time will be as impactful as the regular season. If this can work, the Timberwolves could be a huge problem, especially with Ant improving as well. Closing in on our final three teams, we have the Los Angeles Clippers, and for me, their X factor is John Wall. It's been a while since we've seen a healthy John Wall, but man, am I excited to see him back. In terms of fit, we'll have to see if the time off has given him time to improve his jumper, which he will need to improve on, especially since he isn't going to be handling the ball as much. Also, I'm not sure if he'll be starting or not over Reggie Jackson, so those are some things that he would need to adjust to. However, with what he's been saying concerning both of these questions, I believe that Wall will find a way to fit in, and the Clippers will be a dark horse team to make it out of the West. Up next, we have the San Antonio Spurs, and for me, their X factor is Devin Vassell. The Spurs don't have much to be excited about, but Devin Vassell has the tools to be a great versatile player. His instincts on defense are great, and although not fully polished on the offensive end, he has shown signs of being a good shooter, being able to create his own shot, and even have a sneaky leaping ability. Like the Jazz, the Spurs are going to be tanking, but Vassell is a nice piece for a rebuilding team, and if he could continue to improve as an offensive talent, he'll be a great glue guy for a team that could be better because of him. And lastly, we have the New Orleans Pelicans, and for me, their X factor is Herb Jones. The Pelicans are a scary team next season, and although it is because of the return of Zion, Herb Jones to me is the reason we really need to be scared. Herb is already one of the best defenders in the league, and he showed signs of being a great 3-and-D guy. With a more defined role next season plus a year of development, Herb can be a catalyst for an absolute defensive unit filled with offensive talent around him, and the Pelicans could be a tough first and even second round matchup. Well, those are my X factors for all teams in the Western Conference. Let me know what you guys thought. Let me know if you think I missed a player. If you enjoyed, make sure and like and sub. Here's a video about my X factors for all the Eastern Conference teams, so if you missed that, go check that out. All my links are in the Linktree link below in the description. There, you can also find my podcast channel, so if you're interested in that, go check it out. Anyways, I'll see y'all later. Peace out.